Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm sorry for the delay in posting today's video. I normally try to post in the morning, but I didn't get around to doing it in the evening. Nice thing about it though is I get the whole office to myself now, so I can record in public and I can be as loud as I want to. So let's get right onto it. Today, I will be talking a bit about revenue optimization. Revenue optimization is going to be quite interesting because before we even jump into techniques, I wanted to talk about different ways of thinking about revenue. And then we can also think about how we can adjust the product if necessary. So there's only really 4 ways to increase revenue. And I'll go into all 4 of them. Some of them might sound very intuitive, but you can start to get very creative with the different ways you can do it. So these concepts actually come from Josh Kaufman's book, The Personal MBA. And if you think that there are other ways beyond these 4 pillars, I do encourage you to brainstorm, come up with some of your ideas and comment down below. Most of them will either fall into one of the 4 categories. I haven't seen anything that is actually out of this realm. So the 4 main ways would be: 1, increase your number of customers. 2 would be increase average transaction size. 3 is increase frequency of transactions. And then obviously the last one is raise prices. So pretty straightforward. Let's get into the details. So for increasing number of customers, it's pretty straightforward. The key over here is testing different channels for better quality leads. And different channels can be, going on Facebook to get your customers, doing cold calling instead, going direct to consumer through e-commerce. Maybe you're doing a distribution model where you're finding affiliates to come on, bring your product and sell your product. Or maybe you're franchising your business. So all those are all different ways around increasing number of customers. Other things you can start to think about is increasing your reach. So expanding into new target markets, better leveraging how you get referrals, being a thought leader in the space, creating more content. So all those are different ideas around increasing number of customers. So pretty straightforward. I'm not going to touch too heavily on that. Number 2, increasing average transaction size. This is probably the one that is the most interesting and the most in terms of how you can experiment and try different things. So increasing average transaction size, the obvious ones you've definitely seen is upselling, cross-selling. If you're not too clear between the difference, upselling is basically selling a more expensive variant. So for example, if you're selling a TV, you might sell a 24-inch TV and you might upsell to a 36-inch TV, right? Still a TV, just a more expensive version of it. Cross-selling is when you are selling similar products that are purchased together. So for example, instead of just selling a bicycle, you might sell a helmet to go along with that, or you might sell a bicycle bottle for drinking water. You might sell lights to attach to it, things like that. Other ideas around increasing average transaction size, thinking about how can you increase the amount of time a customer spends in your retail location or on your website, because it's been shown that the more time a customer spends with you, the more they will purchase from you as well. Coming up with bundles, so discounted bundles, items frequently bought together, having minimum shipping thresholds. So if you buy over $50 in product, you might offer them free shipping. Discount on minimum purchase. So you might say if you buy in bulk, in volume, those are different ideas as well. So that's where you can play around, explore different ways that you can package things together to increase your average shopping cart size. Quick tips on cross-selling or even upselling is a lot of salespeople or even entrepreneurs that I meet find that they feel very uncomfortable with the concept of cross-selling. They feel like they've already done all this work to get the customer across the line. Then they feel it's going to be difficult to make another ask of the customer. What I would encourage you to think about in terms of both cross-selling or upselling is your goal here is not to sell. Your goal is to figure out how you can help the customer benefit more, help them win, right? So, for this example over here, would you like to add breakfast for 2, normally $49 to your room for just $29? You're giving them more convenience, more value, and it's cheaper. So it's all good for the customer. So why would you feel uncomfortable offering this as a cross-sell? So just come from an angle where you're not thinking about, hey, I'm trying to make another sale, but think about how can I add value, add convenience to my customer. Another quick tip that I find helpful with cross-selling, upselling is figuring out when is the best time to position it. And to offer it after a milestone is actually a great way to do it. So milestones can be either milestones in the sales process, or it could be milestones in the customer experience. So it might be after, if you know, for example, that if your customer does something with your product, so for example, if they make a share on Facebook because they've had a great experience with your product, that's actually a great time to offer them an upsell or cross-sell, because they've just had a good experience. They're therefore likely to want to get more of it. Offering a cross-sell after a sale also works pretty well, because you've already hit that milestone. They are now bought into it. They see value in your product or service. It's quite easy for you to present something else as a cross-sell, as an addition on top of that. The third tip is increasing frequency of transactions. So this one can be a bit tricky, because sometimes it might require that you adjust your whole product or service offering. The goal over here with increasing frequency of transaction is, if you have a product or service where it tends to be one-off, your goal is to try to figure out, how can I increase recurring revenue? You're trying to build habit into their behavior. So an interesting and quick example from one of the local companies here in Vancouver is Push Operations. So Push Operations, when they started, they focused as a accounting-based platform for the hospitality industry. So they would service hotels, restaurants, and they would do accounting. But the thing that they found was, accounting is a problem that happens once a year. During the tax season, companies think about accounting. Otherwise, they pretty much forget about it. So they looked then at other behaviors, other things related to accounting that other companies in the hospitality industry struggle with, and possibly are not met with existing solutions. So they landed on, instead of focusing on just accounting, they started doing payroll services. So managing the employees' payroll, that was something that they did. And payroll is something that happens on a bi-weekly or even on a monthly basis here. So it's much more frequent, as opposed to just something that happens once a year. So, do you have a product or service that is really seasonal? Might you need to adjust even what you offer? Other things to think about would be, having a sort of model where, for example, if you're a service-based company, if you're a consulting company, instead of doing project fee-based, you might have a retainer model where the project fees might actually be discounted, but then you keep your client with you for a longer period of time through retainer fees. Or if you're a product-based company, the printer and ink model works well, right? So you sell the printer at a low cost, people buy the ink refills. So what can you do over there to create more recurrency in terms of how a customer might need to use your product or service? Having loyalty programs, that's another great example. So, if you, for example, Airbnb, if you refer a friend, they get $25, you get $25. So that encourages you to come back and spend with them, because that credit is only redeemable with them, right? So think about different ways that you can increase the frequency of transactions there. The fourth one is raising prices. So raising prices sounds very obvious, very straightforward, but what I encourage you to do is make it a very data-driven process in terms of how you're evaluating what the right price is. A great example that I learned from one of our local mentors, Dr. Greenhill, who runs My Best Helper, is what they did is, when they launched their platform, My Best Helper, to give you some background, it's basically a platform that helps connect parents with childcare providers. So if you're a babysitter, or if you're a nanny, you're looking for a job, you sign up on My Best Helper. The sign-up fee is $10 per month. And what they found is, when they launched, $10 a month, their lifetime value for the customer was about 6 months. So 10 times 6, $60 for the lifetime value. They eventually raised prices over a period of time, and they found that they could raise their price up to about $80. And what they saw was that, yes, raising the prices meant that people would leave their platform more quickly, because most people don't want to pay as much as $80 a month to use the platform, but their lifetime value was still higher. So they saw that the customers were on the platform now for an average of 3 months instead of 6 months. But if you think about it, 3 times 80 is $240 versus $60 previously, right? So it's still higher lifetime value. So as you raise prices, you want to plot it against a graph to see how that's affecting your churn, your lifetime value. Another thing to keep a close eye on is your cost of acquisition. Naturally, the higher the price, the harder it is to get a customer on board. And what is the point where it gets too difficult that it doesn't make sense? So you'll find that as you increase price, you'll have a graph where you'll see a peak, and then anything beyond that, it just becomes too hard for you to either acquire customers or they churn out too quickly. So make that a data-driven process. Other things to think about as you're raising prices is, of course, don't just raise price in general for all your customers. What you can do is you can do A/B testing, and definitely do cohort testing as well. That means what you'll try to do is you'll try to keep everything else equal and raise prices during the same period of time across different segments of customers, so that you know that whatever is affecting lifetime value or cost of acquisition is strictly related to price and not because of it's a different month or maybe you're running a different campaign or anything like that. So that's what we call cohort testing. So test it out, make it a very data-driven process. So that's basically the 4 pillars of increasing revenue. So just to give you some quick, interesting examples and quizzes. So IKEA, for example, where they offer cheap meals where you can come in. They are a furniture store, but you can buy, great value food. So what do you think is going on over here? So what's actually going on is their goal is, of course, increasing average order size, keeping people in the store around for a longer period of time. That increases them to spend more. They're not really upselling or cross-selling over here because they probably don't take a huge amount of revenue or profit through the restaurant itself, but it's a medium for them to have parents, homeowners come in and spend a whole day at IKEA and buy more furniture. So yeah, increasing average order size. I mentioned the printer cartridge model, so I'm not going to go into that. So yeah, that's basically what I have, and I'll stop here today. And that's it for today's session. In the next video, I will talk about sales, creating a sales strategy. So I mentioned I was going to talk about that in this video, but I forgot about this interesting topic. So that's what I covered today. So look forward to sales strategy next week. All right, I'll see you around.